And when I came to, I had a revelation, a vision, a picture in my head, a picture of this. This is what makes time travel possible. The flux capacitor.
What are you doing?
I was doing all right until you come in the bloody room. This is the German-made Filmomat F Stop printing timer, kindly donated to the channel by the guys over at Filmomat. And what a lovely bit of kit it is too. F Stop printing is something I dabbled with a long time ago, but without a timer that displayed fractions of seconds, it was all a bit hit and miss for me. So I went back to the old school way of testing my exposures in full seconds. There's no problem there, but since using this timer, I've been able to be more accurate with my print times than ever before. And if you're not sure what F-stop printing is, stick around as I'm about to go into my darkroom so you guys can see this little beauty in action.
It works! It works! I finally invented something that works!
Your ass, it works.
You can read all the information on the Filmomat website, including the price at €599, which is about $650 or 500 quid here in the UK. It's not cheap, so that's the spoiler out of the way, but keep watching as I'm about to show you how easy and accurate my printing has been since I've been using this f-stop timer. Now, I'm not sure who first founded this method of making prints in the darkroom, but this past legend, Gene Nocon, a master printer and photographer, was responsible for getting it out to the masses back in the day. I first learned about this in his brilliant book, Photographic Printing, a book I would recommend to anyone getting into darkroom printing. And there is also an interesting interview with Gene on YouTube, I'll put a link in the description, where he talks about f-stop printing.
Clients' negatives, okay? And I discovered, much to my dismay, that this is a haphazard process of taking a print, exposing it for a certain amount of time, and winding up with a target, so to speak. I mean, that's what it is still to this day. And I said, there's got to be a better way. And I came up with this f-stop method of printing. If you had a 5-second exposure, one f-stop more would be 10, one f-stop more is 20, 40. So you had 5, 10, 20, 40. Having an engineering background, the 5, 10, 20, 40, for me, I recognized that as an exponential progression. Then I was able to actually calculate the numbers in between, the quarter stops. And I came up with this f-stop method. So I teach it now.
In his book, Gene explains how to make f-stop test strips in full stops, which we can all do with our Enlarger timers. It's easy and effective, and I used this way for a long time. The results were not much different to normal increments of say 3, 6, 9, 12, 15 seconds, etc., but I managed to save more paper. In the end, I went back to my normal way of making prints. If I was going to continue f-stop printing, I really needed a good timer that would calculate fractions of a second, and although there are many online, they are pricey. Did I really need to make all that investment? Well, of course not. I was happy with my prints and the way I was doing it. But if only I knew then how a good f-stop timer would change my printing accuracy and paper wastage. In Gene Nocon's book, he explains how to make a basic f-stop print. It can look confusing, but once you get to grips with it, it really is quite simple and can be done with any timer. You put your negative under the enlarger, place a test strip on the baseboard and set your timer for 5 seconds. You then expose the whole paper for 5 seconds and then cover up 1/4 and expose for a further 5 seconds. Then cover half of the paper and expose for 10 seconds. And then finally cover 3/4 of the paper and expose for 20 seconds. You've now made a test strip which shows exposures in full stop increments, and from there you can decide if your final print time is going to be any of those 4 segments or if you need to go in between at say for example 12 seconds. So this is what Gene Nocon explains in his book for a basic f-stop test print, which I'd done on a normal timer which all of us have got. It's not an f-stop timer, so these are increments of 5 and they're increments of full stop, so 5, 10, 20 and 40 seconds. And if I look at my test strip here, obviously 5 is too light, 10 is a bit too light in the sky, and 20 is too dark. So I could go in between that of 15 seconds. Because of the timer, I can't go into any fractions of seconds. So between 10 and 15, let's make a print at say 13 seconds. although I found this way useful, it wasn't accurate enough without a timer that could be set in fractions of a second. But I used this way for quite some time before I ended up slipping back to my normal way of printing. So this is a print I made from that test strip, which I said was 13 seconds. And from the test strip, I thought the water looked best at around about 8 seconds or so. So all I did was just dodged this area after 8 seconds so that this didn't get any more light for that extra, what, 5 seconds. So it just makes the water pop a little bit more. And it's come out nice. Simple test strip. Just 2 pieces, well, 1.5 pieces of paper to get a print. I could have done a bit more burning in the sky, but other than that, it's come out okay. So I'm now going to do another test strip using a full piece of paper at normal increments of 5 seconds. No f-stop printing, just normal, the normal way I do it, at 5 seconds a pop. So let's do that now, and then we can have a look at that test strip. So that's 5 going on now. I'll do 6 increments like normal. 10 seconds, 15. My phone's going off in my pocket. 20 seconds, 25, what a ringtone, eh? And 30. A little bit slim at the edge. So there's 6 increments of 5 seconds like I normally do it. Let's have a look at that one. So this is the normal way that I make a print. 5, 10, sometimes I pull down to 3 seconds if I think I need to, but 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. And if I looked at this one, 5, 10, 15 seconds looks about on the money there. And just maybe dodge the water, or only let the water get 5 seconds of light around this area, maybe 6. So that's how I make a print on that one, which would come out looking pretty similar to the other print that I did, except the sky would be a little bit darker. Let's make a print of that and we'll see how it looks. So I'll set this timer to 15 seconds, and this is the timer I've been using for the last couple of years, and it's been fine for me. 15 seconds. 15 seconds, and all I need to do is after, say, 6 seconds, just stop light hitting that water so the water pops a little bit. Let's try it out. Off it goes. 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe. Okay. There's no clicks, so I can't hear anything, but we'll give it a whirl anyway. Hopefully that was about 6 seconds of covering the water. Done. Let's see how that one looks. And this is the print I just made at 15 seconds and then dodged the water again for around about 6 seconds, I reckoned. And the sky, that little few extra seconds has given the sky a bit more boost than the last print, which I used the basic f-stop test print for. It's come out nice. And this is what I'd normally do in the darkroom. This is what I have been doing for years, and it's been working well for me. So this was the first print that I made using the full f-stop workings on my analog timer, where we said the sky wasn't quite coming in. And this was the one that I just did using my old school method, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. I chose 15 seconds, and you've got a bit more sky coming this time, and also dodged the water for about 6 seconds. But both prints look quite nice. So now we'll do an actual f-stop print using the Filmomat timer. So we'll take this Patterson one away, and we'll replace it with the f-stop timer from Filmomat. So if you look at the timer itself, it is a beautiful timer, and it's well made, well built, and it's not. It is big, but at least you're not going to be able to miss it in the dark, you know. So you've got these dials here. I'll show you what they do in a moment. First, you've got 2 sides. You've got a test strip side and a print side. So if I turn the dial as it is already facing test strip, I've put these little tiny bits of paper on myself. Maybe Filmomat might want to put a little notch on these so you can see where they are. But anyway, I've put it onto test strip myself, and you can see I can make my test strips now in increments of stops. So half a stop, 1/3 of a stop, 1/6 and 1/12. It sounds confusing, but it's bloody good. And you can see it's ready to go. It will make 7 increments, -3, -2, -1, 0, which is your base time, and then +1, +2 and +3. Very similar to what you see inside your camera when you're making exposures. Over this side you've got a safe light button, you've got your focus light, and also your test stop if you want to do increments, or if you want to make single test strips such as 5, 10, 15, 20. But obviously I'm going to be choosing increments because I want to be using it as an f-stop timer. There's a plug in the back which you can put a kettle lead in. We call it a kettle lead here in the UK. You can put a kettle lead in and that will control the safe light. The other one is for the enlarger lamp, so you can have your safe light working on and off with this. I don't choose to have that. You've got your focus as well, so you can just turn that on or off to focus. That turns the enlarger bulb on, and I just told you about the test strip. And there's the button there to start your the program. And then when I finally find my right time that I want to make a print for, I just turn that into print mode, and then this button here toggles between the times in using f-stops. So for example, if I'm using half a stops, my base time is 10 seconds. If I come -1, you'll see it says 7 seconds. If I come -2, it says 5 seconds. -3 is 3.5 seconds. Back to my base time. +1 exposure is 14.1, +2 exposure is 20, +3 exposure is 28.2. And there's also a small input there if you want to put a foot pedal in as well, which I've got, but I haven't been using that as much. I've just been pressing the button. So I'm going to start at a base time of 10 seconds and my intervals are going to be in half stops. I'm going to make 7 segments to match the timer's calculations. I place my test strip under the enlarger and expose the whole test strip. The timer will work out the first exposure for me, and in this case it's 3.5 seconds. So now my whole test strip has been exposed for 3.5 seconds. So far so good. Now using a piece of card I cover the very first segment and we can see that the timer is set to add another 1.4 seconds to the already exposed 3.5 seconds. I move the card along to the next segment and press the starter again, and we can see it's now going to add another 2 seconds exposure. Forget the plus and minus numbers for now, let's take them away. I then move to the next segment and the timer adds another 2.9 seconds of exposure. The next segment, the timer adds 4.1 seconds of exposure. The next segment gets 5.8 seconds. And the final segment gets 8.2 seconds exposure. And that is my test strip done. You can see the very first segment was already exposed when I exposed the whole test strip at the start. If we bring back the plus and minus steps, we can now see how much time in stops we can give our paper to make the final print. Our base time was 10 seconds, that's our rock to stand on, but we can see that that's too dark. So I look at the segment before, which is half a stop less light, which is -1. So if I come down 1 notch on the timer switch, it shows that my -1 time is 7 seconds, which is half a stop away from my base time of 10. 1 full stop would be -2, which is 5 seconds. To make my final print, I just switch the dial into print mode, press the button, and the timer will expose my paper for 7 seconds, as per the initial test strip. Right, so the timer's all ready to go. I'm going to be doing this at half stop increments. That's a bleeding word, isn't it? Half stock increments. So the timer will work everything out for me, so there's no headache. So I'm going to flash the whole paper first for the first increment, like so. And then I'll cover 1/7. This is going to make 7 increments for me. That's the next phase there. Next one. Next one. Next one. And the last. Next one, sorry. Running out of paper. I should have done these smaller. And the last one right at the end. So I've done 7 increments there using the F Stop Timer. Let's develop it and have a look. And this is that test strip there. You can see this time it's not in seconds. I've done it in stop increments. So as the timer says, -3, -2, -1. 10 seconds is where I started, which was my base time. +1, +2, +3, and like I said, it's very similar to what's inside your camera when you're making exposures. And you can see how smooth the increments are, very light this side, so if I need to do any dodging and burning, I can see exactly around here in fractions of a second where I need to dodge and burn, and I can do that dodging and burning on the timer in fractions of a second. And if we compare it to my normal test strip, 5, 10, 15, 20, etc., that's that one there. You can see it goes dark pretty quick. Coming back to the F Stop Timers one. Of course I could have done the other one at 3 seconds or 2 seconds, but normally I start at 5 seconds. Looking at this test print now, for me to make a print, I'm just looking at this part here in the sky. I'm reckoning maybe that looks nice in the sky, so I'll have to go +2 away from my base time, but then I need to dodge the water, and this looks quite nice here at -2. So now to make my print, I put the timer into print mode like so. That was my base time, and my test strip said +2, which is down here, so I'll just go 1, 2, so my time is going to be 20 seconds. And then I said -2, come back to my base time, -2, 1, 2 for the water. So I'm going to give the water 5 seconds and the rest of the print 20 seconds. And if any of you guys like these prints, I'm going to be putting these on my Etsy page. If you want to support the channel and purchase one of these prints signed, then they'll be on my Etsy page. There'll be a link in the description. So the whole print's going to be 20 seconds, which is a bit longer than the others. And I need to start stopping the light hitting the water after 5 seconds. That's what that test print was showing me. So off we go, and I'll be able to count my 5 seconds in, because this thing has got a little bleep as we go along. You'll hear it. 3, 4, 5. Start burning in, dodging, sorry. So I'm stopping the light getting to that water, and I'm slowly going to graduate it to the center there. And that's done. So I've made 3 prints so far, one at 15 seconds, one at 13, but the F Stop timer, looking at the test print now, I thought was best at 20 seconds. It's allowing for that sky as well. Let's see how it looks. The water looks nice, got a nice, that's looking nice and reflective there. So I'll get this stopped, fixed, washed, and I'll show you guys in a second. And there it is, all stopped, fixed and washed now, hanging out to dry. This is Ilford multi-grade Deluxe resin paper, and that one's come out nice. I've got a bit more graduation in the sky, and also where I did some dodging around the area of the water down there, that's made that pop. So that one looks nice, very similar to the others of course, but there is a bit more detail in the sky, no doubt, because it was 20 seconds, but that's what I got from the F Stop timer test strip. Now where F Stop printing really comes into its own is making enlargements. So that was on 10 by 8 paper. Let's make an enlargement onto 9.5 by 12 inch paper, and obviously the time's going to change because the enlarger lamp is going to be higher up. So once I've evaluated my base time on the F Stop timer for the new enlarger size, all my dodging and burning is going to be exactly the same. In this case +2 and -2. So let's do that now and I'll show you how I do it. Now, no wizard when it comes to mathematics and calculating in my head or on a calculator how much more time I need to give my print if I'm enlarging it. So I'm going to use my Sekonic light meter in incident mode, pull the bulb inside, and then take a reading at 10 by 8. And then what I'll do is I'll raise the head, get the position for 9.5 12 inch paper, and take another reading. That's going to give me my difference in stops that I can then dial into the timer and make an accurate print. But also mainly I can then do my dodging that I needed to do without wasting any more paper. So the difference between the smaller paper and the larger paper was about 2/3 of a stop. So that's quite simple. I just change it to 1/3 of a stop there, go up 1, 2 for my base time original, and it gives me 31.7 seconds of exposure. But then what about the dodging that I was doing as well? Well, let's come back to where my dodging was, which was 5 seconds, go to 1/3 of a stop, increase it by 2, 7.9. So I need to dodge the water after, what, say 8 seconds, and the rest of the print is going to get 31.7 seconds. So we're increasing the time by 2/3 of a stop. That's what my light meter reckoned. That's 31.7 seconds. making the overall print. And then about 8 seconds of giving the water about 8 seconds, and then Dodge covering that for the remainder of the time. So let's go see how it comes out, and I'll just count the 8 seconds in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then just start covering the water slightly, not too much, but just enough so it doesn't look so muddy. I still want that shadow there of the post, so try and work around that. Near enough done. Done. Hopefully this has come out okay. If it has, it means I haven't wasted any more test strips. I've just gone straight to an enlargement by using the light meter. It would be more tricky to do this if I was just using increments of 5, 10, 15, 20, etc. And that's looking good. And there's the enlargement there now hanging out to dry. So that one's 16.5 by 12, that's 10 by 8, and I used the light meter just to find out the difference in stops. Found out that it was 2/3 of a stop more exposure that I needed. The F Stop Timer worked that out pretty quick for me. No wasting of paper. I've got very similar, very similar print to the 10 by 8. So what a wonderful piece of kit this is from Filmomat. It's well built, well designed. There may be a couple of things like memory functions that you guys are used to with other F Stop timers that this one hasn't got, but for me this is perfect, and I'm looking forward to going ahead doing F Stop printing in future and getting real used to it. I'm only just scratching the surface with it at the moment, and I'm putting this out for you guys to see, this timer. And I suppose the questions that you guys are going to ask me is, would I spend £500 of my money on this timer for my darkroom, which is a hobby for me? Probably not, but now I've got this on my lap, I can see the benefits of F Stop printing, and I'm looking forward to going forward doing this. I did look at this a little while back, some of the timers, and I did see them quite expensive, but not only that, I also saw them as looking a little bit confusing with all the buttons and stuff. I researched it and I just thought, I'm happy with what I'm doing. But since I've had this, it's been a breeze. I'm not going to sit there and slate the unit because I think it's fantastic. It's really well built, but there is a couple of things I just wish that Filmomat had put some sort of engraving on the buttons so you can see where you are in the dark. I put little stickers on there, but other than that, what a wonderful piece of kit. I love it, and I'm looking forward to doing more prints in the darkroom in the future with this one. Another thing I'd like to see on this would be some sort of like a little stand, you know, so I could stand it up. Throughout the video I had to prop it up for you guys to see, but I realised as I was working, I thought that would be really nice if this could just sit at an angle on the side of me so I can press it. It sits flat, so I have to keep looking over on it, like most timers really. I don't know if I could put it on the wall. Could it be wall mounted? Maybe it could be wall mounted somehow. But and the other thing is, it just reminded me so much of the flux capacitor in the time machine, so that was the idea for the intro. So let us know in the comments, guys, what you think of this timer. If you use F-stop printing, let us know what you do. There are also guides online if you want to use your normal calculator or timer or whatever. There are some cheat sheets you can use online, but that would just do my head in. Something like this is, you just dial it in and it tells you what to do. Bosh, off it goes and makes your print for you. So it's really easy to use. And I'm not affiliated with Filmomat whatsoever. Those guys have kindly donated this to the channel, so I'll be using this more in future. I ain't earning nothing out of making this video other than the adverts that you see pop up, which will probably buy me a roll of film if I'm lucky. I'll catch you next time.